G'day Mindstars, I'm Aaron. Welcome to UNPACK, the show about life. UNPACK is about raw, honest conversations with people from all walks of life as they tell their remarkable stories of well-being and resilience. And today I'm very happy to have with us former Australian radio queen, the director of the Powers Farmers Market, the one, the only Sammy Powers.
Hello.
Hello, Sammy.
How are you?
Great to see you. Welcome to UNPACK.
Thank you. I'm excited to do this because I have done a lot of work on myself. I have been down there, and as you can see, I'm back up. So I'm happy to share what I have learned.
Beautiful. That's why we're here, to unpack. Can I ask you straight up? I mean, we'll talk about your wide, broad career. What are you working on at the moment?
Well, I do a lot of different things. I was in radio, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast for 38 years, getting up at 3:30.
Wow.
Do the show. I was funny, apparently. Go to lunch, get blind, pass out, repeat. So that was my life.
How'd that go for 38 years?
Oh, it screws up your 28.
28, sorry.
It screws up your total sleep pattern for the rest of your life, but I fixed that too, and I can help people with that.
Yeah.
And then my mother started to get ill. She has Alzheimer's, so I came back because I'm not married. I did marry myself on my 50th.
I can't wait to talk to you about that.
I got divorced the next day, so it's okay. I'm free now. And so for the last 7 years, I've been running Powers Farmers Markets for Mum. And it's quite funny because the skills I learnt in radio have aligned to enable me to do it. And I've been really enjoying it. I also write comedy, I write ads, I talk a lot of rubbish to people and they seem to believe me. So yeah, I do, and I love cats. So I do a lot of different things.
That's unreal. That's a great start. I'm into it. So let's start. You've already spoken about your well-being, really, and some of the challenges, especially in the media industry. What is well-being to you, and what is that? How do you actually, make that happen in your life?
Well, if I'd have been doing it in the age of Facebook and Instagram and everything, I wouldn't be here. This seat would be empty because I don't know how people handle the negativity that's pushed towards them these days with trolls and things like that.
Yeah.
I am a lot more resilient now as a person. As you get older, you learn things. I've learned so much to let go and rise above, and people's, that all those cliches, what people say about you is none of your business. I really don't care. I will wear a ball gown to the letterbox.
Yep.
I don't care. I do whatever I like.
Yep.
And I'm very lucky. So with my well-being when I was in radio, I didn't look after it at all, but I was very happy. I was also 120 kilos.
Really?
Yeah, I never looked down, and I thought I was really beautiful.
Because you're not tall, 120 kilos. That's...
Oh, it's like, a potato. I was a happy potato, but I was a potato. And then, you keep doing things till one day you stop. And in radio, it's a very cutthroat world. So the first time after I'd been Triple M Sydney, which is, the pinnacle, when I lost that job, because they just turf you out for someone new. It's a very cruel industry.
What do you mean they just get...
Or they just go, oh, that show's old, let's get, Kyle or something, who's a friend of mine anyway. But when I first lost that, I didn't know who I was because I was treated so well and I was like famous. The amount of stuff you get given to me and people who have money already are given all this free stuff. It's kind of weird. So I had this huge, fast lifestyle, and I was in my 20s. I was working with like Doug Mulray, Andrew Denton, Mike Carlton, all of these amazing people. And it was great because I found my mental excitement, and to make them laugh was like the biggest thing on earth. Like it was a Christmas. So I'd found my niche, and when that was gone, and people do disappear when you're not famous anymore. I didn't know who I was, and that's when I went to my first, I suppose, mental health retreat, which was in Lismore. I found it in the phone book, because everyone who's down, they either stay down or they crack and go, I've got to do something. So I found this place called, I can't remember, La Manche. It was run by Seventh-day Adventists. I very much kept to myself, and I lost 20 kilos. I just would walk every day. And they were vegetarian, which I thought was ridiculous. And I got myself back together, came back to Sydney, and when you've done something for yourself, I think good things come. And then I got another job and I went off again.
So you went from a point where, we talk, unpacks about well-being and resilience. So you went, so it sounds like you got to a point where you went, I need to do something, because you went from, were you well when you're doing the radio gig? I mean, you're making people laugh, but I mean, how were you, was there well-being?
That. I'm robotic. Like, no matter what I have done the night before, I can get up, and it's like, when the mic's there, when the mic's on, and when the mic goes off, like that. So I do that. But I'm lucky because I'm very quick and I'm witty, so I knew what to do, and I always, I'd go, oh, please, God, or whoever it is, the Queen of Cats, make me deliver today. And it came, so it was good.
What was it like? Because this is obviously a show about well-being and resilience. And so you had the highs, and then you get your head chopped off, and it's like, thanks so much. You went, at that point, it's obviously a point where you start to go, okay, what's next?
When you're enormous, and you drink too much, and you take Coke, and you do all that. Now I know that I was covering up something, but at the time you don't. You just think, what am I pushing down? I've been to many psychiatrists. I didn't have a very great childhood, but I don't believe in blaming that. You have to look at, maybe someone made you feel small and insecure and all of that, but I didn't know that. So you have to look at yourself and go, how can I improve things to make me not feel like that?
Yes.
And I'm a voracious reader. I love Google. I love the internet. I've read so much stuff to help myself, but I do understand people being in a bed. Look, your world shrinks, in fact, I can look at pictures and go, oh my God, did I really drive all the way there to go to that? Like, now I'm just very quiet and centered, and I don't aim for happy. I aim for calm and peace, and it's so beautiful. It's a beautiful place to be.
So you went from 120 kilo, and it sounds like
to 58, and now I'm like in the 70s, but I don't mind. I mean, I would like to lose 10, but I actually don't really care.
How did you do that, and why did you do that? Because you said before you were talking about covering something up.
Oh, actually, no one wants to be enormous. At the time you think, oh, I want a boyfriend, and I'll get a boyfriend if I'm thin. I couldn't give a damn if I have a boyfriend now. Like, I like cats, and I'm proud. Yeah. But, there may be a reason, or or you're going to a wedding, or it's someone's, you'd want to lose weight for that. I didn't actually want to feel better then. Now I want to feel better. So you can set on the path and do things for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
So I did it, but cut out alcohol, cut out everything, go to the gym every day, obsessive, eating all the right stuff. It fell off. And it was weird because every pound that came off, I remembered why I'd eaten it on.
What do you mean?
Well, you did that because some guy that you told you were fat. I remember. I felt every wounded feeling I felt coming off as I got thinner.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. But I did it the wrong way. I did not do it for health. I did it for looks. And now I don't care. Because I'd always had a great personality, and I could fake it with the mask. But I I didn't do it the right way, and I became really miserable. When I was fat, I was so happy. I just, as I said, I didn't look down, I didn't care. I thought, oh, you've got nice eyes. Don't ever look further than that. But I was miserable and obsessive, and my world shrunk then too.
Which kind of goes against thinking, doesn't it, in some ways, that, you know, that you were happy when you're 120 kilos and you became miserable as you lost the weight. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Can you talk some more about that?
Oh, well, people would say, oh, you look great, but that means nothing to me now.
Yeah.
It's about how you feel, because I do believe I am here to share my story, whether it's about overeating, drinking. I wasn't a big drug addict, but, you know, I was a partier. I can talk about depression, I can talk about anything. I've been there. I was in bed for 3 months, and I had to get a new mattress because it had red wine all over it and all these cigarette burns and stuff. Like,
what
it was
point
disgusting.
Was that in?
That was last year. And people say, oh, what tipped you to that? And it's so ridiculous. I had these two 23-year-old cats who actually had a show bag at the Ekka. They were famous. Chops Marie and Pee Wee Angel.
Wow.
But other things had been going wrong. Like, I stepped into my mother's business, who was a very full-on woman.
Yes.
And it was mental torture because she doesn't know she has Alzheimer's. So she's still running it, but I'm running it behind the scenes. It was just, you know, like, and I have to get the guys to drop the money off and text me and hide it under the house, and then because she'd think she was doing it and she'd steal it, and it was just a nightmare till finally she accepted that I was running it.
Okay.
But there was that, and it wasn't a job that I'd chosen, and it wasn't a town that I'd chosen to live in. I love it now.
Coming back to Brisbane from Sydney,
Yeah.
did you? Yep.
And, you know, then, and men have always ruined my life. But now I know it's who I chose. It's me. It's my fault. And the vibration I was on you know, drunk, smoking, taking drugs, attracted someone of that level. And I seriously am about here now.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't think twice about being with someone like that. And there's nothing wrong with them. And it was great fun. But now I'm after something different. But they did have the ability to pull me down. So
paint a picture for us of what happened before you had that 3 months in bed, because that's pretty. That's a big moment.
Well, I'd had a very, it's so boringly long to tell you, but a famous chef who I'd met in Sydney like 14 years before. He was in Ireland. We were talking to each other on Facebook, not in a sexy way, but I knew we'd be together. Anyway, he was trying to sober up, and I'd been sober for 2 years. He was trying to sober up, and he'd seen on Facebook that I was doing all this healthy stuff and yoga and all of this, and he said, look, I've got a job in Brisbane. He's Irish. I've got a job in Brisbane. Could I come and stay with you for a couple of weeks till I find my feet? And I said, yeah, I'll introduce you to the healthy people. I'll keep you on track, blah, blah, blah. So I went and picked him up at the airport at like 11 o'clock at night. And we just looked at each other and knew, oh, okay, here's chaos. Here's hell.
First night.
Yeah. And it wasn't even like attraction. It was just like 2 bottles looking for a wine glass.
Wow.
So we agreed, all right, because he was blind when he turned up. We agreed, okay, well, let's just have this one night, the weekend then, and we'll start on Monday. But Monday never came.
Wow.
So that started into this long 2-year back and forth descent into hell. So 2 years fast forward, I hadn't seen him for a year. On June the 25th or something, I took Chops Marie, my girl cat, and had to have her put down. That was the worst. I always think I'm really strong. I walking in with the cage and walking out with the empty cage. I sat, and I don't really cry apart from, you know, ads for Telstra ringing people in Rome or something. But walking out with the cage and sitting in the car, it was just like 2 years of everything, and I just sat there crying, and I hate bodily fluids. I had like icicles coming down And then a month, so I was kind of in bed and drunk that's how I coped with it. Oh, I know, I'll just drink. And then out of the blue, he turned up sober, he'd been in rehab. And we said, all right, well, we'll just have this one weekend. And he went to the shop 200 metres away and died at the shop. And I thought, I was texting him really horrible things. Like, oh, you've done that again. I got all of his bags and threw them in the garden.
He died?
He died. I don't make this up for fun.
I'm just making sure that I understood. Yeah.
No, he'd always said, you can't just stop drinking, you'll have a seizure.
Oh, wow.
Which made me drink more because I thought, oh, I'm going to have a seizure and die if I stop drinking.
Wow.
So, but I didn't know for hours. And then the hospital, I was like, oh, he's done it again and blah. Then the hospital rang me and I was his next of kin and I hadn't seen him for a year. So there was that. And then the other cat died. So I had these three things and it wasn't about any of that. It was about just life. And people think suicide is selfish and I didn't try it, by the way. I didn't know how to do it. But suicide is selfish and you feel too much. It's not that. It's you feel nothing. You don't care. I couldn't care if I upset you. You don't feel it. I don't know how other people feel, but I didn't care about anything. The thought of even having a shower and having to put a shirt over my head, people don't understand that. But like putting a shirt on was like Mount Everest. I just couldn't do it. And people, I have a lot of friends who love me and I've helped a lot of people. They were ringing me and if I answered the phone, you know, you've got so much to live for, don't do this to me. And it's like, it's not about you. And I don't care. And I had people sending me books like Reasons to Live and stuff. And I was like, to go on a hike. Really? That makes me want to die even more. You just don't want anything.
You don't want anything and nothing's great.
So a great friend of mine just absolutely picked me up and took me to hospital on the 25th of September.
Just turned up to your house or told you they were coming?
Up.
Just rocked up?
Yeah. Took me to hospital and I remember my eyes were like Satan and I always try to make people happy. So I was being hilarious because it's robotic for me. And then I spent, 5 days in hospital, had every MRI and RIQ and ASRSVP thing that you can have. And amazingly, my liver hadn't exploded. The liver is so resilient. And I thought, yeah, you've got to look after your mother, you've got to run this business. If you can find one tiny crack of something to keep you going, then you can get up and keep going.
Was that your tiny crack, the business for your mother, or what was your tiny crack?
I think I have a spirit. I think we all have a spirit. I know I'm here. Like, yes, I've done really well in radio. I've won a lot of awards. I've written a lot of stuff in magazines. I've been on television. I've done all of that. But I think I'm here for something more. And whether it's well-being or sharing my story with people, my story's not particularly weird or sad. It's just like Jordan Peterson, who I love, the psychologist, whose book 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos. He said one of his chapters is treat yourself like someone you are looking after.
Yeah.
And I love that. It's like you never think about yourself, you look after everyone else. And I didn't a lot, really, because I'm selfish. But as a parent or something, like, you do that all the time. But for someone like me who was just wild and free, treat yourself like someone you are looking after. Like, would you give her, Nellie, I call her, would you give Nellie 2 bottles of red wine at 7 a.m. and a packet of cigarettes? Probably not, no. What would you do with it? Oh, I'd make her get up. And there's so many. I love the Nike slogan, just do it.
Yep.
That's got me out of bed like a million times. And I do like get up, dress up, show up. I do stupid things like my nails are cats. I do stupid things that I can look at to amuse myself. I don't actually need anybody else. I love dressing up. I'll wear this to put out the bin. I don't care. I like dressing up, being funny, and then I can go home to my cave and shut down and just be me. And I am me when I'm out. I'm just a louder version.
Is it about refilling your bucket when you have your own space?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, turning your headlights off, which is a rude connotation, I know, but like turn your headlights off. They're still there.
Yeah.
And when you need them, turn them on. It's all about, I didn't know the term, but it's energy leakage.
Yeah.
Like, don't give your energy to people that don't matter. I don't get involved in gossip. It actually makes me sick to gossip about people now, and I used to love it. I was like Mrs. Mangle from Neighbours. I don't get joy in other people's downfall. I just concentrate on myself and the circle around me, and I do the best I can.
You sound like you've sort of stepped into something.
Yeah, I feel so free. And I was talking with someone earlier about being happy. I don't really know what happiness is. I think happiness is fleeting, like a electrical jolt. I love calm, and I love peace.
Yeah.
I love candles. I love crystals. I'm a typical nut that I used to laugh at, but now I get it.
Yeah.
So I don't actually judge people, because I've always ended up becoming the person that I judged before and going, oh, now I get it. I get it.
You've said a couple of times you've used the word mask. What's the mask?
Well, the mask is the person that you would like to present to the world. And I don't think there's anything bad with a mask, unless underneath the mask is a whole festering, squirming squall of maggots. If it's just like you're not that happy today.
Yep.
Sorry, I've made it rain, I'm a witch. If you're not that happy today, like, get up, dress up, show up. Like, just do it.
Yep.
Make someone, I know wherever I go, I can make people happy and smile.
Yeah.
And that in turn gives you momentum. Because when you're very depressed, it sounds so ridiculous saying, oh, give to someone else, when you think, I've got nothing, I can't even get out of bed, I can't even put a shirt on.
Yeah.
Send someone a nice text. Or send someone, I love sending cards, I love buying presents, I love stuff like that, because selfishly I actually get a lot out of it. So when you fuel that, it's like a water thing moving forward because of the water, you know, those mills.
Yep.
If you give out, you really do get back. I don't do it to get back, but you do.
It is, isn't it? It's part of that cycle, and that's something.
Wow,
a lot of people...
I was lying in bed this morning just really flat, and now I feel great.
Yeah, it's amazing. What would you say, and you've already touched on it, but what would you say someone is watching this who is having trouble getting out of bed every day? What are some tips you could give them that helped you? Or what would you...
See, it's difficult because everyone is different. But I'd say get rid of the backstory. Like, okay, your father's sick and you've had to move somewhere and you're in this town, or, you know, a lot of people have things. Everyone has my cats have died, which sounds mental anyway. Hate the word mental. My cats have died and my boyfriend died in front of the house, and, you know, it's all right. All right, that's happened. Like, live now in this moment. Get up, clean your teeth. If that's all you do today, good. And tomorrow, aim for having a shower. And maybe drink 3 bottles instead of 4. Like, it's not going to happen. It's a very long process. It's taken me a year to get here. But I read, like, there's so many great, like, The Elephant Journal, Mind, Body, Soul, Little Buddha, or Tiny Buddha, I think it's called. So many things that come to your inbox every day. They all give me a little bit.
Yes.
Okay, don't get 89 donuts delivered from Uber Eats. Why don't you order a salad? Like, I can't tell anyone what to do, because what worked for me may not work for them. Maybe they'll get out of bed for 89 donuts. You know, you just have to take away your boring backstory. I'm sick of hearing mine. Like, and just every day. The good thing I heard was you're not competing with anyone else, you're competing with yourself. So you just got to be a bit better than you were yesterday. And some days, you know what, I've gone out, and if 2 or 3 bad things happen, and that could be like someone beeping at me, you know, weird things, I know my limit to go back and go, I'll try again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, don't be hard on yourself. Treat yourself like someone you are looking after.
I love that as a mantra. I love that because it's be kind, isn't it? It's be kind to yourself. And we're not. So often we're not. So what about you coming back? It's great to have that self-discovery and, you know, to actually that perspective. It's brilliant. And then, but you came back. I'd like to hear more about when you came back. Not like you came back to, you know, an amusement park. You came back to look after your mum.
Yeah.
Who was done well and into this role. I mean, what's it like as a carer? Because
It's quite hilarious.
Watching your mum.
Well, my mother is not a normal old woman. For one, she is not a hypochondriac. I feel sorry. A lot of my friends go, "Oh, my mother talks about is her." Mum would. I have to ask her if she's okay. And Alzheimer's is quite funny because, you know, sometimes they're there, and sometimes they're not. I feel good because I know I'm giving her the best life that she can have at this stage. So my mother is not a normal old woman. She was always very strong, very independent. She started the markets. She's done a million things in her life. She was on TV and everything. We're very similar. I can absolutely read her mind. So some days she's amazing and funny, and some days she's just quiet and I can see her staring into space. And I know she's thinking, and I know what she's thinking about. So I'm very lucky. And we're both, let's face it, eccentric. Mm-hmm. We love taxidermied chickens and cats, and you know, she loves cake and all this stuff. So we're very on the same level. And I took her in to live with me about 4 months ago. I had 10 4-metre skips full of junk. She thinks she lives on the Gold Coast now, even though she moved next door. So I have hours of conversations about how can you have lived there in Brisbane and now you're here and it's the Gold Coast.
Wow.
And that's like, and then I'm thinking, oh yeah, you're on the Gold Coast, but I'm never mean to it. I've been being single all my life. Like I've lived with men and had 400 boyfriends, but I was never married and I didn't have children. So I was allowed, well, I could be very selfish. So I think the world works it out. And now I do have a child, but it's my mother.
Wow.
And when it was a chore, it was a chore. But now I actually somehow, and I don't know how you get to this point, I made it a joy. And I thought, you know, getting back, because I'm selfish, I'll go to heaven. So, which is full of cats and chocolates. So I thought, and candles, and gorgeous young men.
Young.
So I thought, well, this is a good thing to do. If I do one good thing, this is it. And she has given me the opportunity to leave radio, which by that stage I didn't like.
Is that right?
And I'm doing this job, which is very aligned with radio. And I actually now really enjoy it. Now I'm together. One of my great fears, which I think many people would have who have gone down and come back up again, and I've done it like 3 times, is that you're going to fall again. Like you have this fear. But what I've learnt is from Jordan Peterson, The 12 Rules of Life, great book, it's #1 bestseller, An Antidote to Chaos. Chapter 2 I love is about order and chaos. And I do like labelling things. Because now when something bad happens, I actually go, hello, chaos. And that kind of takes the sting out of it. If you go, this is chaos, and chaos is such a strong word, but it could be like the bin hasn't been picked up and it's full of prawn tails. Like, how am I going to sort that? Well, I'll get it out of the bin and I'll put it in the freezer till next week. Like, there is always a way to solve stuff. Yeah. And if there isn't, what are you worrying about? Like, you shouldn't worry. Worry is a wasteless emotion, so useless emotion. So I actually label it, hello, chaos. And then I dismantle it. Whereas before I used to catastrophize and everything was the problem instead of, oh, well, Tell her you can't go to her wedding because you're sick, even though it's because you've touched up her boyfriend. Do this. Dismantle everything, and it's so easy rather than this big ball of spaghetti.
Yeah, that's right. I think you've done amazingly well, and I'd say you're an incredible carer, and you've just come so far, and you can see it in you. You're glowing. So thank you so much. One thing I'd love you to do is, you've already named about 3 or 4 different fantastic things that people can access or look at. Are there some takeaways, books, websites, podcasts, whatever that you'd recommend to people who are watching?
Well, the problem is when you're there, there's no way on earth, if you can't even have a shower, you're not going to read a book.
Yep.
Hopefully you've got one friend, one person that will still put up with you and drag you to get help. But so I can't really talk about being down there because I don't remember it and I don't want to remember it.
Yep.
I now live in the moment. I don't worry about the future. Everything works out. I love that saying, so far your survival rate is 100%. Yeah. So you're doing pretty well. You're still here. I have a lot of people writing to me about they want to die and stuff like that, and I just really don't know what. I just say, just keep going. Just do one positive thing today. Yeah. And I've said that before. Just keep going. Try and give out to others, even with your mask, and it comes back and it gives you a little bit of fuel in your tank, which I would have drunk before, but now I use it to move forward.
I love it. Sammy Power, as always, it's beautiful to talk to you.
And I got a kiss!
Thank you so much for joining us again for Unpack, the show about live shit, and it's been an absolute pleasure talking to Sammy, as always. Please share, comment, like. Let's shake up the conversation around well-being, and make sure you are kind to yourself and to the people around you. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time. Thank you.